Okay, hey everybody. We're back, and this is sort of part two of the anatomy tutorial here. Got his head roughed in last time, and what we're going to do this time around is I'm just going to get his neck put in there, and I'm just going to do a bust on this guy. So, really, just going to do his neck and shoulders, part of his torso. We'll see. And then maybe refine some of his the anatomy of his head. Okay, so first off, usually grab the insert sphere and just drop one in there for his neck. I'm going to real quick come down here to split unmasked so that we've got the sphere for his neck now down here. And I'm going to go ahead and fill it with the same color as his head. And just going to sort of pull this out to about the shape we want. And I'm not going to worry about like posing this guy out or anything. And then I'll go ahead and holding control and drag to Dynamesh the neck part. Smooth it out a little bit. Then going to come back over here to insert again. Going to insert another sphere. It's right here. Just use the move brush to sort of push and pull it to about the shape I want. And on this one, I'm not going to go much further than up there down on his torso. About that far out on the sides. And I'm going to go ahead and real quick separate. See, right now I've got that. The chest part is actually part of the head. So I'm going to do the same thing, split unmasked. And then I'm going to take that and merge down. And then I'm going to go ahead and just group visible so that they're the same mesh. And then I'm holding down control and dragging off to Dynamesh. And I'm just going to hold down shift here and just smooth that out a little bit. It's actually a little big because I had it set to the same Dynamesh geometry as I had the head. So I'm gonna lower the resolution a little bit because it'll just be easier to work with. Well, for roughing in. Okay, come over here to clay build up. I'll make sure I don't have lazy mouse on. Up the intensity some. Just like the head, I've always got a couple of places where I like to begin. To just give myself an idea of where everything is. Oops. Up the intensity a little bit more. Oops. Oops. Yeah, just like with the head, I'm just going through and putting the major shapes in place. I'm just adding mass here. I'm not worrying about too much about the muscles at this point. Yeah, there's a good chance I'm going to end up giving this guy some sort of outfit, so I'm not going to worry too much about the details of his chest muscle. This is about where I was picturing cutting off. this back here is just going to be flattened out, so I'm not worried about that at all. Okay, and I'm going to go back here and mess with a little bit of his head. Didn't have quite the right curve that I'm looking for. I'll make sure I've got mask by polygroups on so I'm not grabbing more than one part at a time. Refine a little bit of this. Just real gently scraping off some of the material there. Fill in some of that fat and flesh that's generally down there. Yeah. A bit easier if I turn that off. Then I'm going to come through here and fill in a little bit more of this area. Just going through right now and tweaking stuff that looks a little off. I always want to look at everything from many, many angles. And for a long, long time, I worked in toys, doing an awful lot of superhero stuff. And after a while, doing the superhero faces and anatomy is just not that interesting because everything looks pretty near exactly the same. which I think is why when I do my own stuff, people are always a little odd looking. Like noses to be a little too big or a little too small, or eyes being a little bit too small, or too far apart, or it's just so much more interesting. Okay, well, he's not too bad off. Move. Oops. See if I can grab the right brush. Move that a tiny bit. Move this out a little bit. Yeah, now pretty much when I'm roughing things in, I'm almost exclusively using the clay buildup, and I'm keeping my thumb on the Alt button on my tablet, so that I am like I'm adding, taking away, just back and forth. Just real gently, just like you're scraping, then you're adding a little bit, then you're scraping away the little bit that you just added. There is a lot of that just going back and forth. Yeah, he's not too bad. Not really sure what I'm going to do hair-wise or anything like that for this guy yet. Maybe we'll go ahead and choose his head. I'm just using the mask brush right now. Sort of trace his hairline in there. And if you want to, when you start taking away the mask, you just hold in Control to draw the mask. I've got it set to mask pen. And if you want to take some of that away, you hold in Control Alt at the same time. Then you can just sit there and erase it. I'm just going to real quick draw this in. And really, you can also come up here holding Control, click there, use Mask Lasso. That's as easy, if not easier, a lot of the time. And then once I've got my mask about where I want it, I want to get it sort of even. Back to mask pen. Let's get it rounded around there. When you got it about the way you think looks all right, come down here and you can go to extract and hit extract. It defaults to 0.02, which in this case looks fine. And then it's just showing you a preview at that point. So if you move it, it goes away. To actually turn this hair into another mesh, you want to hit accept, and it creates a new subtool there. And it's all, you want to do this, come back here, because your mask isn't going to go away. And if you're not going to need it again, go ahead and delete the mask. Come back here. It's going to automatically be masked, so holding Control and drag off. And it's going to make it in different parts, which is really helpful if you're doing something that's going to be sort of mechanical looking. Because even though you see how really rough that is, you can polish by groups and smooth it a little bit, or you can come down to under deformation, polish by features, and click on this to make the button bigger. And then just drag, and you'll notice it is getting it really nice and clean. Although it's going to be hair, so not really important in this case. I'm going to go ahead and come up here and hit Group Visible, and then come down here to Geometry, and I'm going to go ahead and Dynamesh it. And now I'm going to, yet again, come up to Polish by Groups. Polish by Groups, I've got it in my little menu that I set up because I use it a lot. But it's actually down here under Deformation, right there. And then, hold on. Okay, and then I'm going to drag, holding Control and drag off again to Dynamesh again. And just smooth out those odd little defects. Okay, and now this can be sculpted on. I'm going to go ahead and just, for the sake of it not looking weird, I'm going to give it a little bit of color. Yeah, that's fine. I'm actually going to go ahead and use a different material for the hair. Okay, and then at this point, I like to use Trim Dynamic. I'm going to go ahead and turn off this torso. I just like to go ahead and real quick go around the edge with Trim Dynamic to just blend it closer to. There are 1,000 different ways to change this edge so it looks more like actual hairline. But I always like to use Trim Dynamic. Okay, and then same as everything else, I will usually go back to Clay Buildup and make sure. Oh, yeah, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and leave the symmetry on for a second, but I'll turn it off at some point because you don't want his hair to look perfectly symmetrical. I want to make sure, because this will be a fairly thin mesh, I want to make sure that I've got back face mask on so that I don't have that weird where it pulls the inside of the mask out, or the inside of the mesh out. Go ahead and turn off material and color. I'm just filling out the volume. You have no idea what I'm going to actually give this guy a hairstyle like. Go ahead and use a move brush to sort of pull the hair mesh into the head, blend it a little bit better. and turn that on. Yeah, it's not too bad. And to switch, there are a bunch of different ways to switch subtools. You can just click over here if you've got that open, or you can hold in Alt and click over here on whichever one you want to go to. See, right now it's having a hard time clicking because it was registering. I was still clicking on that. Okay, not too bad. Just want to fill out right here a tiny bit. I don't want this guy to look too thin. I want him to be thin, but not like emaciated or anything. Okay. Just want to sort of pull his ear out a little bit there, a little bit. So you can see it from the front. Yeah, he didn't look too bad. Yeah, he's got a... This is where it's just sort of fun playing around. It's like, could, real quick, tiny bit of a point to his ears. Here's more of a widow's peak. And he's not too bad of a looking Namor. I mean, I know a lot of people that wouldn't like that his nose is a little bit too big, or, but I like not having everything be absolutely perfect. Let me come over to standard real quick, leave it on just RGB, so that we're just putting color down, no additional material. And I'm going to lower the RGB intensity. It's already lowered a little bit. Now, I honestly cannot remember what color Namor's eyes would be. So I'm going to guess blue. I'm just kidding. This is just for fun real quick. part of what's making him look a little strange still is I never gave him any eyebrows. Here, I usually do eyebrows the same way as I'm doing hair. Just turn on mask pen. And you'll notice I've got my mask pen set a little funny. I always like having the hard circle alpha to give me a sharper edge. And I turn focal shift down. I'm not entirely sure if that does anything, but I always sort of feel like it does, so. Yeah, it's pretty much like I did the hair. Draw it in with the mask, come down to extract, and that looks really thick. It'll be fine because once you start smoothing it, it'll get smaller. So hit accept. And then I'm going to come up here to polish by groups and just drag on that a couple of times. So change the color so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so now I'm going to do just like I did with the hair. Group visible. Then I'm going to come down here and Dynamesh so I can actually sculpt on it. Set to about, that's probably fine. And then polish by groups again, let it really smooth it. Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead, and they are standing out a little bit more than I want, so I'm going to come up here and move, hold in Alt, and then that'll center it on the mesh. And then I'm just going to move it in a little bit. And to change color, if I want to match it to the hair, you can just click here, drag over, and pick the color. And I also want to match the material, so I'm going to just come over here, and that's going to show me which material it was. And then go ahead and, oops, make sure I got the intensity all the way up. So his hair and his eyebrows now match. I need to come over here to the material I've started out with and go ahead and, just so I don't keep having it change on me, go ahead and fill that with that material. Go ahead and do it first. There we go. Yeah, and we'll have to, if I'm going to keep this as looking like me more, I'm going to have to mess around with him a little bit till he's got more of that arrogant look. Like he's just really exasperated with having to deal with dummies. But yeah, I just enjoy things being a little more cartoony than a lot. Oh, and you'll notice I need to. You always want to make sure you get rid of the mask that you've got from when you were doing the extractions, because otherwise you end up, or I end up forgetting it's there and then trying to move things and messing it up. Smooth these out a little bit more. Yeah, they are not, the eyebrows are in no way finished. I'm just leaving them like this for right now. But yeah, that's just playing around more than anything. But yeah, that's how I would rough out the neck and the top part of the torso if you're going to be making a bust or something. And also, almost. Yeah, sort of a stylized, I guess, Namor there. Okay, well, yeah, and you can take that away, and he's just a bald guy. Okay, so that's it for roughing in the neck and the top part of the torso. I suppose we'll try doing some more next time. Maybe I'll give him more of an outfit and that sort of thing, or turn him into a character that's not something that's definitely owned by a big company. Might try to just change him into some more of an original sort of deal. Okay, well that's it. Thanks for watching.